Hi, this is James Gordon O'Toole here with the 8th book in the Jack Ryan and John Clark series, the book I'll be talking about today, Debit of Honor. Okay, this was published by G.B. Puma & Sons in August 17th, 1994. This was definitely a really good thriller novel. I was really satisfied with this one. I felt Clancy has gone a step forward this time and not backwards like he did with his previous book, The Sum of All Fears, which was an absolute stressful, drama-fueled, boring novel to read. This, however, was a lot better. This has an interesting plot, well-written characters, excellent action scenes that happen in this book, interesting locations that it takes place in, better developed villains I felt in this novel compared to the other one, and overall this was just a good thriller. Like, I really enjoyed it. This novel does have its slow moments where it kind of slows down a little bit, but when the interesting parts start to when it gets back to the interesting parts and the action that happens, then I'm really interested, and it did not disappoint at all. There were some issues and problems I have with this novel, but overall, I really enjoyed this, and this is now like my third favorite in the series. I really enjoyed this one. And the finale, holy shit, the finale was absolutely both shocking and amazing. And I'm definitely looking forward to reading the other books in the series. Alright, on to the book review. Plot. On a nice autumn morning of 95, Jack Ryan, along with his friend Robbie Jackson, are out golfing in West Virginia. Ryan has retired from the CIA and has been working in stocks again, along with teaching on the side. While he's been enjoying his life and along with spending more time with his family, however, Ryan is having difficulty adjusting to his new lifestyle since he was used to being Deputy of Director Intelligence for so long. As he and Robbie are having a good time, Ryan's pager goes off. When he checks it, it's from President Roger Durling. Ryan flies to Washington, D.C. and meets President Roger. He wants Ryan to take over as National Secretary Advisor as they are dealing with problems with Japan's trade, and since Ryan has both military and business background along with serving his country, President Roger wants him back. Against his wishes, Ryan accepts the offer. Meanwhile, Japanese industrialist Raiza Yamada has bought land in Hawaii and is plotting to get revenge on the United States for the death of his family members during World War II. Yamada meets with other Japanese businessmen who he wants to turn against the United States government but are hesitant to do so. Then, a multiple car accident happens in East Tennessee when two Japanese cars' fuel tanks are corroded from salt water while being shipped, spill gas all over the road, causing a massive fireball, killing 6 people. The incident causes a bill to be passed, Trade Reform Act, by Alan Trent, a chairman of the House Select Community Intelligence, who is a critic of the Japanese. While some argue this bill is being pressed way too soon, but Trent pushes to get it passed with the aid of President Roger. This bill hinders Japanese trade with the U.S., which angers several Japanese businessmen, also causing their Prime Minister, Mogurito Kogo, to resign, unable to handle this inaugural situation. The ruling Seibatis, along with Yamada, install Hiroshi Goto as the new Prime Minister. Goto is an aggressive nationalist who strongly dislikes the U.S. Together they plan to launch a series of attacks against the United States with the aid of China and India. While John Clark and Domingo Chavez Dane are sent to keep tabs on Goto, during his speech, Goto expresses his anger and views on Americans, which the crowd cheers him, then becomes hostile towards the CNN news crew, forcing Clark and Chavez to flee. Ryan is concerned this is going to cause further problems and brings this up with President Roger, who he criticizes for being too hard on the Japanese government. However, Roger is dealing with another problem which Ryan knows about. His vice president, Edward Jonathan Kilty, is being investigated by the FBI for rape charges. President Rogers wishes to handle this matter after the visit in Russia, when he and the Russian president will be destroying missile silos as part of a peace deal. Despite Dan Murray, Ryan's friend, who is pushing to get this case against him going. Ryan tells Roger he knows one of Goto's weaknesses. He likes attractive women, and from Clark's report, they've been watching him closely as he has one of his women with him at all times. Ryan plans to bring her to South Korea and convert her into a spy. Roger is skeptical about the plan, but Ryan assures him it will work and gives him the go-ahead to Clark to carry out the mission. However, Yamada is a step ahead of them when he warns Gato he must get rid of the woman, fearing she'll expose their plans to Americans. When Clark and Chavez go to track this woman down, they find her dead from a drug overdose. When Ryan is told the bad news, he knows Gato is behind it, and with the support of the Japanese people, with the police, will cover up this murder. Yamata then hires a skilled computer engineer, Chuck Searles, to attack the American stock market with a logic bomb, calling it Easter egg, which will be triggered on Friday, causing blockage on all trade records, which will affect all American companies, causing the stocks to drop. On the day Ryan, his wife Kathy, along with the President Rogers, leave Seattle to Russia, Chuck begins the attack with Easter egg. First, the stock market in New York drops, causing many losses for American automotive companies and banks, forcing other nations to cut ties with American businesses and turn towards other nations. People at Wall Street are powerless to do anything and are unable to fix this sudden problem as their data is all gibberish. At the same time, Walter Hillenbrand, president of the Federal Reserve Bank, when he's on his way to an urgent meeting, while walking through the busy streets of New York, a dark-haired man in a trench coat pushes Walter into oncoming traffic and is struck by a taxi, sending his body flying into a street pole, then slamming hard into the pavement, breaking his back. The killer disappears into the crowd and then takes the subway as the cop rushes over to the dead body, unaware who killed him. At the same time, Yamada begins a series of attacks against the United States Navy with fighter jets and subs. Japan then sends self-defense force units to occupy the Mariana Islands after hijacking a Boeing 747. The squad takes over Saitam and Guam away from American control. 2 aircraft carriers are badly damaged during the attack, with several casualties and badly injured crew members, but the 2 American subs are destroyed, killing both crew members. During the party, Ryan is cold about the chaos happening on Wall Street, which forces President Roger to leave as they have to return to New York at once. However, Ryan receives more bad news from his friend Robbie, informing that Japanese forces have taken over the Mariana Islands and are keeping the people, mostly tourists, from leaving, and the attacks on 2 aircraft carriers along with the 2 sunken subs. Ryan then orders President Roger to be awoken at once and taken to the nearest airbase as possible. When Roger is up, Ryan informs him the Japanese have declared war against the United States. Ryan and everyone else is working around the clock trying to get answers and figure out what Japan is plotting and who is really behind this attack. At the same time, the FBI is trying to find the person responsible for sabotaging the star market and believes they know who it is, Chuck Searles, but find his house is empty as he's already fled the States. Meanwhile, Clark and Chavez are trying to get in contact with Ryan while laying low in Japan, knowing they are both wanted men. They later rescue Mordecai Goto, as he too is a wanted man with a bounty on his head. Ryan is also trying to work with President Roger to give him data of what he knows and if Japan is plotting an all-out war. Ryan also gets in contact with Robbie, giving him more information on the Mariana Islands, and learns the Japanese army is setting up missile launchers and threatens to fire nukes back at America should they attack them. With the aid of several people, Ryan, along with his team, begin to turn the tables on Yamada and his puppet Prime Minister Gato, then launch an assault on the SDF, holding the residents of the Mariana Islands hostage, destroy the missile silos along with taking out Yamano's core members, then go after Yamano himself. However, what awaits Jack Ryan next is something he nor anyone else won't see coming and is about to be thrown out of the frying pan into the fire. Debt of Honor was a gripping and very intense thriller with a large cast of heavily layered characters to follow within this detailed world. Good pacing with moments of short yet brutal action scenes along with tense moments that kept me on the edge of my seat. While there are moments where it gets slow, but after a while the pacing begins to pick up again, and not once was I bored reading this novel. I really enjoyed the several scenes within this novel, from the big accident, plotting the virus on Wall Street, then watching the chaos it causes, planning out major war and assassination events, then watching them happen, along with seeing lots of military aircraft and submarines action. And the finale was both an amazing and shocking way to end this epic novel. Like the detailed locations within Debt of Honor, from Washington, D.C., New York City, Japan, Hawaii, and other islands featured in the story, as Clancy picks many interesting places to see within this novel. A solid cast of both likable and unlikable characters to follow, very well layered and written, as I felt none of them were flat, dull, or dragged on the story. It's always interesting to follow the main character Jack Ryan from his normal day-to-day life to being involved with both the military and U.S. President. I also like seeing Robbie Jackson along with Jones and Bart from the previous novels doing more this time, and watching these characters taking part in major battles was very entertaining, unlike in the last novel, which I felt they talked way too much and hardly did anything. I also like President Roger During, who was kind, caring, and was willing to listen to what Ryan had to say. The villains, Horizon Yamada and Yoshi Goto, were very smart and deadly together. Yamada was the brains of this operation, with Goto as the muscle. Both these two had an interesting background and their motives for their actions for wanting revenge against the Americans. From launching their assault against the U.S. forces to sabotaging Wall Street with the virus, I felt was a very creative and deadly plan. However, I felt some scenes of Clark, Chavez, and a few other characters showing disgust of using violence kind of took me out of the story, as most of these men were soldiers ready for action and know the risks they must take, but seeing them disapprove of using violence in a few parts made me feel Clancy was expressing anti-war views, which doesn't fit the characters' views in Clear Present Danger. Just felt Clark and Chavez were getting a bit soft here, and I want to see these characters in action, not making commentary on violence. Oh, and towards the end of the novel, Chavez wants to marry one of Clark's daughters. This really felt out of place, and Clancy threw it in all of a sudden, without any backstory of Chavez dating this woman. Wish he didn't add it in. And a few other characters who rejected the idea of going to war against Japan, yet were complaining earlier, was a little annoying to read these parts. And the other issue I had with this novel was the subplot of Vice President Edward Jonathan being investigated for rape charges. I felt didn't fit the story and wish Clancy just cut this out. However, since it isn't featured that much and is over by the time the major events begin happening within this novel, it doesn't get in the way too much, which I felt was an improvement over Clancy's last novel, The Soul of Fears, where I felt he focused way too much on the drama and less on the main plot of the novel. Other than that, there wasn't many other problems I had with this novel, and felt Clancy has gone a step forward, improving the issues and problems I had with his previous novel. Overall, I highly recommend Debt of Honor. It's a solid early 90s techno thriller with many moments of intense action, good cast of characters to follow within this heavily layered world, and the finale you won't see coming. Clancy truly delivers a real knockout with Debt of Honor. Alright, that's the review today. Hope you enjoy it, and I absolutely had a blast reading Debt of Honor. This is like my third favorite novel now in this series. I really felt Clancy has gone a step forward in the right direction this time. Like, this time he is focused more on the main plot of the story and less on the drama, which I felt in this last novel, The Soul of Fears, he focused way too much on the drama, less on the plot, and that novel was such a stressful read. Debt of Honor was not stressful. This was a really gripping, edge-of-your-seat thriller that I really enjoyed, and I was just reading more of this book, not getting bored by it at all, or wanting to put it down. Of course, when I had to take breaks, of course, but each time I read this book, it got better as I progressed further in it, and when it delivered some really interesting scenes and some intense action moments, I really enjoyed a lot. I really like the characters in this book, and there's characters I really despise in this novel. I always enjoyed reading the day-to-day life of Jack Ryan when he's just doing his normal stuff, and then when he's thrown into his military life, which I enjoy following, and then some of the other characters we meet were interesting. I felt that Clark and Chavez were kind of a bit soft in this book, because in the previous book, after Clear Present Danger, which had these two characters doing a lot of action, which I really enjoyed. Soul of Fears, they really didn't do that much, other than prevent Jack Ryan's wife Kathy from divorcing her husband when that bitch Elliot tried to implant false evidence against her husband. Which is the only good thing they did in that book. The rest of the book they did was just talked and didn't hardly do anything. But with this novel, they're doing a lot more. Like they're taking part in like espionage and spying missions, which was really interesting to follow. But as I said, I felt these two characters were becoming soft, and as I said in my review, I really didn't like when they started expressing they were just expressing disgust on using violence, which I was taken back. I was like, what? You have John Clark, who is a badass who has no problem killing like bad people or anything, and will not hesitate if given the order to do so. And even in Clear Present Danger, he expresses how much he wants to go after, scumbags, right? Well, there's a couple parts where he's, going after the bad guys, and he's expressing anti-views of violence. I thought, what is this? What is this? And then Charvez expresses like his displeasure of being violent as well. I thought, what the hell is this? Like, I never saw the two characters ever expressing this in the previous book, so why are they expressing this now? Like, it just really felt out of place. It just made the characters feel so. I'm not saying they have to be emotionless, cold-hearted, or anything like that. Like, characters do need to have emotion and express their feelings in the story, but this just really felt out of place. Like, okay, they're not, like, you know, like, gonna go guns blazing and just massacre everyone. Okay, I don't want them to be like that, but when they have to put someone down, just have the characters do their job. Why you gotta add this commentary? When I read these parts, it kind of took me out of the story, and I really didn't like this. And then there's parts in the book where characters are pestering the president to take action against the Japanese government for taking over the Marina Islands, and then other stuff that's going on, and the president is like, you know, wants to, you know, hear both sides before make a decision, and these characters keep pestering him, and then finally when the president is ready to take action, these characters are now suddenly are against the idea of taking, like, you know, going to war with the Japanese forces. I thought, you were just saying earlier to the president, let's take action now, a few moments ago, and now all of a sudden, oh no, let's not do that. That's the bad idea. This isn't war's murder. And I was like, why are these characters bringing this up? Like, it just started to take me out of the story a bit. I was like, why are you adding this? So that was the one complaint I had with this. The one complaint I had with the stories was this like anti-view on like war and violence. I thought, please don't add this in the story. Just have the characters do what they have to do. I don't want commentary on views on violence and war and stuff. Just have the characters do what they have to do. Also, the other thing I didn't like with the story was the subplot of the vice president Jonathan Edward being investigated for rape charges. I really wish Clancy didn't put this in the story. And as a matter of fact, at the beginning of the book, it starts off with a woman being interviewed by a psychiatrist, and she contacts the FBI that one of her clients has been sexually assaulted by a vice president, and this gets Dan Murray involved in the story. And I thought, don't tell me this is going to take more parts. This is going to take up most of the story in this novel, like in the previous book, Some Level of Furious, which I felt that where Clancy really focused on the drama and subplot more than the main plot of the story. However, this subplot would appear at very a couple times in the book, not a lot, and it didn't really get in the way of the main story. And then Clancy wraps it up, and just as the major events begin happening, and he gets it wrapped up and pushes it aside and focuses more on the plot. So I thought, you know what, I'll let that slide because it doesn't really interfere with the main plot a lot, and it just Clancy's focusing more on the major event that's going to play out in the novel, not the subplot, which I thought, okay, you know what, I'll let this slide. Oh yeah, the other character I really didn't like a lot was Alan Trent. This guy's like a real scumbag, like kind of a very greedy and bigot, racist bigot character who's against like the Japanese economy and stuff, and who really dislikes Japanese products and stuff being in the United States and stuff. Yet Japan makes most of our technology, like from, you know, CD players, DVDs, Blu-rays, and video games and stuff, and all that stuff. They without with the Japanese economy, we wouldn't have the tech we have today and stuff. So I really dislike this character, and I found it kind of a little strange how Ryan and him are kind of friendly at the end of the novel. I guess the whole thing at the end is like sorted out between Trent and stuff. So I thought, okay, I just really didn't like this character. I was kind of hoping he would get something coming to him for creating this stupid bill and then all the shit he causes because of it. Well, other than that, despite the few issues and problems I have with this book, I really enjoyed it. I really liked the scenes of like the villain Yamada and the computer guy. They plant that virus into Wall Street, and it causes chaos in Wall Street where companies are losing money, and everyone is just losing their shit because the computers are now malfunctioning and they don't know what to do. I really enjoyed that scene. And then, of course, when the Japanese launched their sneak attack against the United States Navy, I really enjoyed that part. And then I also like the scene where the Japanese send like an assassin to kill the president of the Federal Banking Reserve, and the guy pushes this person into oncoming traffic, gets hit by a car, and gets sent flying into a street pole. That scene I really enjoyed. That was a really cool scene. I thought, oh, that's different. I thought, what is someone going to sneak up behind him or shoot him or stab him? No, they push him into oncoming traffic. Oh, clever. and then watching the scenes where Jack is working with his team as they begin plotting to get to take on the Japanese forces. I really enjoyed that scene as well, and the destruction in this book is really cool. There's a lot of like building destruction, military base being blown up. There's at one point a flood where they destroy a dam, which I thought was really cool. There's a couple scenes where they shoot down planes and blow up subs and ships, and I was like, this is getting good. This is what I want to see. Yeah, so this had a lot of action and some computer sabotaging scenes that I really enjoyed, and I was just having a blast reading these parts. And the end, and towards the end of the book, it really gets really good. And I was just reading away, just reading page after page. Like I was really engrossed with the story. I was just really enjoying it. Oh yeah, and there's one other thing that kind of annoyed me a bit when, towards the end of the book, Chavez wants asks Clark's permission to marry one of his daughters, and he's of course accepts. And I was like, what? Where did this come from? To me, this felt like Clancy just threw this in just to make the ending more happy. And I thought, what the hell is this? Like when it features Chavez and he's with Clark, he not once does he ever bring up that he's interested in marriage. Like he's never interested in settling down, raising a family and stuff. He never talks about that. He just wants to travel around the world. And take part in like all these like high risk missions and enjoy the frills and action and stuff. And all of a sudden, at the end of the book, he now wants to raise a family. Like, what the hell is this? Like, to me, I felt Clancy just threw this in there, and it just felt you really needed a backstory to explain if he's been dating Clark's daughter or not. Because this to me, it just all of a sudden where Chavez asked Clark he wants the permission to marry his daughter. I felt, where did this come from? I just felt he just threw it in at the end. I was like, I didn't like that. And I've seen this so many times in other books and movies where characters decide they want to get married and have kids and settle down. It's like, I'm getting really tired of this trope. It's like, it's becoming too common in so many things. It's just like, does the character really need to settle down and have a family? Does he really need to get married and all that shit? Like, I'm not saying they have to be single alone for the rest of their lives. No, they can have a boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever, but do they have to get married and have kids? It's like this common trope I'm seeing way too much now, and it's getting really annoying. That was one I didn't like. And the ending, holy shit, this ending was awesome. I have heard about this ending a couple times on like some Facebook groups and stuff, and they're saying how intense the ending really gets in Debit of Honor, and I of course read it on Wiki, and I was like, ooh, this sounds really interesting. I gotta read this. So when I read I'm not going to spoil the ending. You're going to have to read this book for yourself to see how this book ends, but holy shit, this ending is awesome. I was like just glued to the book reading the final pages of it in this ending. I was like, damn, this was a really like both an amazing and shocking way to end the book, which will continue into the next novel, Executive Orders. But I really like this ending. It was a perfect way to deliver to end this book, and I thought this is how you end it. Oh, one last thing. As I mentioned in the Clear Present Danger review, after that was made into a film, and Clancy was so pissed off how Paramount Pictures handled that one, he stalled the series and prevented the next books from being made into the film. As I was reading the Debit of Honor, I found myself, I really am curious how this would have translated into a film. Like, one of the options that Paramount suggested to Clancy was that after having difficulty trying to get the Some Little Fears made to a film, they suggested let's just skip that book and just go to the next one, Debit of Honor, which would have been fine. Because I really don't want to see a movie with that bitch Elliot character in it. But as I was reading Debt of Honor, I was thinking to myself, okay, if Paramount Pictures was to make Debt of Honor into a film, how would they have done it? Would they have stuck more true to the book, made a few changes to it, or would they have completely cheaped out of it like they did with Clear Present Danger adaptation? Every time I read a book, I'm always curious, if this book was to get made into a film, what would it look like, and who would play the characters, and what the score would sound like, and the scenery would look like, and all that stuff. But on the other hand, the other part of me is concerned how much will they change too much around the story, cut out the best parts, and just ruin it. So it's kind of like a 50-50 if they were to make it into a film. So who knows if it would have been good or not. But Who knows? Maybe one day we'll see a reboot of the Jack Ryan and John Clark series in the future and see all the books adapted into a film. Who knows? So overall, I highly recommend Debit of Honor. It's an excellent early '90s techno thriller. Really good. I enjoy it. And this is now, as I said, my third favorite book in the series. Oh, I absolutely had a blast reading. And I was reading much as I could. It's a very thick book. Like, it was like 760 pages long, and I was really reading away yesterday, trying to get the book done. I was going to try to get my review actually posted yesterday, but by the time I was done reading, it was like midnight, and I was really exhausted from just reading all day. So I thought, you know what, I'll do the review the following morning, which was a lot better to get some rest, get well rested before doing the review. Because if I did the review last night, I think I would have been really tired and just making a lot of mistakes and having to edit those out. But overall, I really enjoyed this book. Alright, that's our review today. Hope you enjoy it. And for the next book, which is going to be the longest book in the series, Executive Orders. This is the most longest book in the series, and look how thick this brick is. This is a brick. And this book is 1,358 pages long. This is going to be the thickest book I have ever read on the channel, and this is going to take me quite a while to get through. I am going to read 300 pages a day to get through this massive brick, because if I just read like an average length, it would take me way too long. Now, I know the hardcover is shorter, but I love to challenge myself, and I'm ready to take on this massive brick. So I'll be reading a lot of pages within this book, and I'm really looking forward to reading this one and the later books in the series. Alright, that's it for the view. That's for the view today. Hope you enjoyed it, and please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to October Library, the YouTube channel where I post book reviews and other fiction-related content. Until then, I'll catch you later.